Can you feel that? Can you feel what's about to happen on this field, man? Can you feel what we about to get into, dog? And it ain't gonna be getting to ourselves. We're gonna dig into somebody else, man. So whenever you in that doggone game, whatever you gotta do to get whatever that's in you out to come out and play your behind off, let me get you. They don't respect us. They don't know what. Let's dominate this thing. Hold in on 3. 1, 2, 3, hold it.
All About the Birds welcomes you to the live pregame show.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday afternoon to you and yours. We are the All About the Birds team here from the AAT Sports Network, live from the West End in Quakertown. Make sure if you are in the area, you are coming out for some food, for some delicious beverages, and some giveaways. We are live with the Eagles in about an hour for kickoff, but we are live here right now. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Well, you got to be ready.
You got to be ready. It's our last primetime game of the year, unless things take a drastic turn. So we got a lot to talk about today. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Ready for some Eagles football? Hopefully we can rebound after last week's heartbreaking loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. So it's going to be a good day today, hopefully.
So you started that sentence out so positively, and then you went and brought up the Chargers game. Why? Why would you do that?
Hey.
I'm trying to move past it. So yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles are 3-6 on the season. It has not been an incredible season, obviously, but we knew what this season was going to be. We knew it was going to be a year of rebuilding. But I think one of the biggest issues that Eagles fans are having is how drastic the ups and downs of this team are. And I think the biggest up and down that we have to talk about right away is the Eagles defense. Johnny, you were a huge Jonathan Gannon fan.
I knew you would do that.
Of course I'm doing it because I have a microphone. Talk about Jonathan Gannon. Talk about this defense. Talk about where you are at mentally with this team, especially the defense.
So, of course, the hiring I liked.
Sure.
Where he came from and everything like that. But yes, I was frustrated, especially after last week. The season has been frustrating defensively, watching the defense. But again, early in the year, I said you can't give up on Nick Sirianni. And I'm not going to go and abandon my thought process and do the thing with get rid of Gannon. You can't. Let's see what we do the rest of the season. Again, look at the rest of the quarterbacks you have. You have quarterbacks that aren't, they're not A-list quarterbacks. They're not top-tier quarterbacks. So we'll see what this defense can do against these type level quarterbacks. And of course, you have to be able to perform against top level quarterbacks if you want to be successful in the NFL.
But to your point, and I think this is a point of discussion here, we are on pace as the Philadelphia Eagles defense to be the worst defense in the history of the NFL. In the history of the NFL, we're on pace to have the highest completion percentage for opposing quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. How can you again, Nick Sirianni had his struggles early on, but he's adapted. He's included this thing called a run game. It's been great. Maybe too much of a run game where it's like 90% run and 10% pass. And, there's going to be the naysayers every which way. But for Jonathan Gannon, how can you make a case to bring him back if he does indeed put out the worst defense in the history of football?
What you have to do is look at the personnel that they're going to put then. So my thing is look at the offseason and look at the draft and see what kind of personnel they're going to put around them. Of course, if the trend keeps going like it is, the noise is going to get a lot louder and louder for his dismissal. We know that. That's the way Philly is.
It's not happening.
Philly is a produced now. But
the Gannon firing?
Yeah, Gannon's not getting fired. He is safe to say, and for the reason that Johnny just brought up, look at the personnel they have on this defense. They did nothing to revamp and give him the tools to succeed this past offseason. As you saw, Eric Wilson, linebacker, we thought was going to be a decent player for this defense and make an impact. Already gone after 8 games.
I'll eat crow on that one. I thought he was going to be a good producer.
I did too. I thought he was going to be an actual linebacker. But again, and I hear what both of you are saying, but doesn't somebody have to be the scapegoat? Somebody's got to get
not this year, especially when Jeffrey Lurie in the offseason said that 2021 is a transition season. And as Eagles fans, we do not want to hear that. But management, they know going into this year and moving next year, this is going to be a couple-year process. So hopefully this coming off season, they can revamp the defense. Because right now, this defense, they're not executing. We can blame Jonathan Gannon all we want. He's continuing trying to revamp his style of defense. We saw the last couple of weeks. He's been more aggressive. He's bringing more blitz packages, which he did not do in the first few games of the year.
True.
So he is trying to make adjustments, not in-game adjustments. That's the one thing. The fact that we continue to have soft zone coverage and allow Keenan Allen and whoever we're going up against to dink and dunk and pick up first down after first down with ease. That is the one thing. But again, the players have to execute. The fact that the front four that we were expecting to be a dominant force this season,
they have not,
has been a major disappointment. They haven't had a sack in 4 of the last 5 games. The only time they had even touched the quarterback in 4 or 5 games is against the Lions. Last week, Justin Herbert didn't even get touched.
And that to me is where you have to have a conversation. Look, I understand that this is we're 3-6 and there's still a lot of football left to play, but on pace to where they are now,
Jenna,
someone absolutely has got to take the blame for this. And as you just mentioned, last week especially, the fact that nobody even put a real pressure on Justin Herbert says more about the fact that I don't know if they're not executing. I don't know if it's the scheme, but something is wrong, so you have to make an adjustment. They didn't. And he had an absurd completion percentage. And I don't see any reason why Teddy Bridgewater doesn't have that same ability today. When he, but you know what? You say that, but he's
done well this year.
But they just destroyed the Dallas defense as well, who's is a better defense than the Philadelphia Eagles.
Agreed.
Okay.
And Teddy Bridgewater, he's playing well this year. His completion percentage, I think he's completing 70% of his passage, which is top 3 or top 5 in the NFL.
And that's not against an Eagles defense that allows 85 to 90% completion percentage.
Nope.
But also, you look at the NFL's weird.
No kidding.
I'm just saying.
As we're watching the football team beating on the Super Bowl champions,
they're coming
we're
back,
watching the Patriots beating on the Browns. I mean, the NFL's weird. Continue.
Like I said, the NFL's weird. And I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater, I know you look at what he's done and the weapons he has, but they're missing their left tackle, Garrett Bowles. You're missing your right tackle, Bobby Massey. Graham Glasnow is out for the season. So Quinn Miners is in there at right guard. You have Calvin Stevenson at left tackle, and you have Cam Fleming. Now, I know the Eagles have played a lot of backup players.
Right.
And the thing is, the backup players seem to it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
Well, right. And that's kind of the point that I was going to bring up. It's every single week we sit here and we go, all right, this team is destroyed in the secondary. Doesn't change anything that we do. This team's run defense is atrocious. Doesn't change anything we do. This team's offensive line doesn't. We have done this every single week. We have tried to make an excuse for saying, well, this is how the Eagles are going to win this week. And then the Eagles don't attack those weaknesses. So what is there out there in the universe that says the Eagles front 4 will dominate against backup linemen this week?
I think they're gonna. You look at the players, the type of players that have come in for these other teams. The other teams have had very capable backups to be able to fill in those holes or fill in those shoes. I don't think Calvin Stevenson and Cam Fleming are real great backups to be able to fill those holes.
Okay.
I think that Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett may jump off sides 3 or 4 times, but
he's actually off sides right now. Right, actually at this moment, he just got called for an offsides penalty.
But I feel that the way the defense has played, and even I'm going to talk about the run defense aspect of it. The run defense aspect of what they are doing the last couple of games, I think has really helped. And I think a big proponent of that is a player that one of our co-hosts, Mike Bauer, loves is TJ Edwards.
Yes, indeed.
And having him and having Davion Taylor play a lot more snaps than Alex Singleton. And I think that's helped because I think TJ Edwards has brought a little bit of a punch to the defense, a little bit of a tenacity to the defense, which was missing, the aggressiveness, which was missing early in the season with guys like Eric Wilson and Singleton running around.
Well, not even the defense, but the linebacking core as a whole. The linebacking core putting TJ Edwards in has gotten better. Pulling Singleton off the field with the exception of obvious rushing plays and special teams has made this defense better. Look, we love Alex Singleton, the human, but is he an NFL linebacker?
No.
No.
He might
many words. I appreciate you.
I was saying we had high hopes for him, especially coming off of last year being the leading tackler for this defense, but You haven't seen progression, especially from this defense, and that's the one concerning thing. And I think that's why Ganthan gets a lot of the blame, because we're not seeing that progression with the young talent that we have on this defense, especially over the last couple of years drafting Kayvon Wallace and Davion Taylor, which Davion Taylor has come along a bit.
And the thing with Kayvon Wallace is another player, Marcus Epps, has taken a leap, and Kayvon Wallace, you haven't really seen him. The thing is with these players, not every single player is going to be an all-pro player. They need to play their roles.
Correct.
And I feel like players like TJ Edwards and Davion Taylor and Marcus Epps are starting to play their roles, which are helpful, which is helping. But the problem is, like Jeff stated, the last 4 to last 5 games, you're not sacking the quarterback. You're not getting pressure on him.
You're not even getting to him.
You're going to get picked apart, especially if you're playing a zone type of defense. You're not moving the quarterback off his spot or moving him anyway. So that, of course, in the caliber quarterback that you're playing, they're going to be able to pick you apart. They're going to dink and dunk their way all the way down the field. They want to get rid of these big plays. That's why they play the 2 high safety. But the thing about the 2 high safety is a really good quarterback is just going to dink his way right down the field into the red zone, and then you hope they make a mistake.
And the thing with the Broncos, and then we'll move over to the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles, but the thing with the Broncos offense is that they've got some really exceptional playmakers. They've got Jerry Jeudy, whose speed is superb. They've got great running backs. They've got the Achilles heel of the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a tight end that can catch the ball. Noah Fant is going to have a career day today because that's what tight ends do against the Philadelphia Eagles. You know that at Tight End University or whatever it is that they have out there somewhere that they talk about, they circle games that they get to play against the Philadelphia Eagles because we cannot stop tight ends. So out of all of the weapons, how do we pinpoint an attack? And I know the answer would probably be key on Teddy Bridgewater. But Teddy Bridgewater, as Jeff said, has a 70% completion passer rating this season. That's before he played the Eagles. This is a concern that I have.
But he's also been sacked, I think it's 26 times this year, which is one of the most in the league. So again, what
exactly, but the thing is, what has this front four shown you over the last month and a half that they can get after the quarterback? We are too predictable on the defensive side of football. The fact that any opposing offense can come in here against our defense and dink and dunk, take away our zone coverage and continue to pick up first down after first down. And like Chip brought up, they have a lot of firepower. They have Tim Patrick, the leading receiver. Melvin Gordon's an up-and-coming running back in this league that I think is going to cause some problems this week for us. So it's going to be one of those games, I feel, is which team is going to make the least amount of mistakes, especially on both sides of the offensively for both teams.
All right, so moving on to the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles, I'm going to ask a question, and I want both of your honest answers here. The first half of the season, we all complained that we did not run the ball enough. Are we running the ball too much now?
Yes.
Ooh, debate time. Let's go. So, starting with Johnny, you say we are not running the ball enough.
No, I said we're running the ball. I'm not saying we're running it too much. I'm saying we're running it just enough.
Just enough, okay? Why?
Because what you're doing is you're playing the 13 personnel,
sure.
12 and 13 personnel. You're using, what the quarterback's strength right now. The strength isn't to drop back and throw the ball 30, 35 times.
No, it is not. It is definitely not.
Right now, that's not the strength. So if you can establish the run, guys like Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, and then using, a player like Kenneth Gainwell in the flat, or, using him to run the ball too, but also using Jalen Hurts' legs to be able to, cause havoc on the defensive side of the ball. And then you can use that in terms of your RPOs and to be able to hone in on the defense using your tight end, because Dallas Goddard the last couple of games has been a little bit of a focal point.
He has.
So, yeah, you may want to see more big plays, but I feel it's either, you run the ball like this or you don't run it at all. I want to run the ball like this because you can use Jalen Hurts in a different dimension.
But I understand your point, and I agree. We need to run the ball more than what the first half of the year. I want a more balanced offensive attack. I want to keep opposing defenses honest, because if we start running too much, you're going to see a lot more of those guys up in the box. You're going to see a lot more of them opposing defenses bringing blitzes, trying to shut down the run. And my thing is, I want to see more from Jalen Hurts. And I think the fact of the matter, the last 2 weeks, we haven't they haven't allowed him to air it out a little bit more. Either the coaching staff or the front office, they may have lost faith in Jalen Hurts at this point, because what happened if opposing defense, like today, the Denver Broncos, which are 7th against the run, allowing less than 100 yards a game against the run, and we're going to have to maybe rely on Jalen Hurts to air it out and make big plays with his arm, which he has not shown consistently this season.
I think
the last 3 games, they've let up 124 rush yards per game.
But okay, so the last game, you do have to take off the table. Is that with the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter included? Yes.
That's the last 3 games.
All right. Well, you saw them shut down Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard almost entirely last week.
Until it was garbage time.
And that's my concern, is that we are going to go out there and our game plan is going to be run the ball 20 times per back. Maybe let Jalen Hurts carry the ball a couple times. We know he's going to be the leading rusher for the team. And what's going to end up happening is that's the entire game plan. So when Denver shuts it down early on, as we have already all said, we do not know how to make adjustments during the game.
And it's not just a matter of fact of winning games at this point. We need to know what we have for our future. And right now, sitting at 3-6, yeah, we're still, I don't want to say it, but we are in the wild card playoff hunt at this time.
Oh no!
But I'm not saying we go out there and basically tank like the 76ers, but I want to see more from Jalen Hurts. I want to know what we have going into next offseason. Is he the answer, or are we going to have to look at a different quarterback? And I want no excuses. I don't want to say that we didn't give Jalen Hurts a chance this season, because as a matter of fact that we're running 70% of our game plan now.
And that's my concern as well. You know, one thing that I saw last week, so the Eagles played a great game last week, to the point of if they had the ball at the end of the game,
defense let them down.
I think that they would have won that game.
I agree.
Jalen Hurts went out there, made the big plays when he had to. He had ice in his veins. He did a fantastic job during the fourth quarter, which is what we want to see. Can he put together 4 quarters of football? I don't think we know. I do not think we know yet, and that's a very big concern that we have when this guy could or could not be the franchise of the team. Is he the guy? And I know we ask this every week, but is he the guy based on what you have seen so far this season?
I think it's still to be determined.
And I agree.
Unfortunately, you can't pinpoint absolutely or no. I think it's a to be determined thing right now.
I agree with you to a point. But the fact that we're consistently seeing the same mistakes week in and week out. Look, there's a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses we have seen from Jalen Hurts. Last week, he put the team on his back.
Agreed.
He had that leadership quality, and he was willing to put his body on the line to make sure that they got that go-ahead score late in the fourth quarter and got that touchdown. But then there's other plays that you consistently see him rush his throws, bad foot placement. He missed Devontae Smith openly on that pass in the end zone. So we consistently see him missing plays and not going through progressions, which is not something you want from your franchise quarterback. I think he can be a decent quarterback, but I don't think he can be your franchise quarterback for this team at this moment in time.
My only thing is, I'm telling you right now, if they give up on him and then down the line, the quarterback they pick or whatever, something doesn't pan out and he winds up panning out somewhere else, there's going to be it's going to be a pretty
well, absolutely.
I'm just saying,
it's the same
he's
way.
23, and one of the quarterbacks that they're looking at in the draft is already 24 years old. So, 5 years in college.
I don't care about age. I care about success.
Saying.
I care about quarterback progressing. I care about results. And right now, nothing against Jalen Hurts. I don't think it's completely his fault. Some of it's the head coach. Some of it's the play calling.
I agree with that.
But just from a mechanic standpoint, leadership ain't the only quality you can have in a quarterback. You need to be able to play the position. And with his lack of arm strength, lack of accuracy, and lack to read defenses, I don't know how far you can get with Jalen Hurts at this point in time. I think he's going to be our quarterback still next year because, like Javier brought up on our chat here, there's not a lot of options.
Right.
But I don't want to see them drafting a quarterback next year. If anything, go after a veteran if there's one available, or because right now this might be the first draft in a long time. There's not a quality start or a quality quarterback in the top end of the draft.
I think at some point, and it was last year for me, I think at some point you have to look at other positions other than quarterback
and wide receiver.
And I'm just going to throw this out. Maybe defense, maybe drafting a defensive player or four.
And offensive line.
And offensive. I mean, at some point we have to stop having this. What quarterback is Howie scouting this week game? Because it's ridiculous. Some news about the game. The inactive list has come out for both teams. Nobody really surprising either which way. Reed Sinnett is the third string quarterback for the Eagles. He is not dressing. No big deal. Jack Anderson, he's yet to dress. Marlon Tuipulotu. Sure, exactly. That guy. He's not dressing. Tay Gowan, not dressing. Kerry Vincent Jr., who we got from the Broncos, not dressing. The Broncos, it's a bunch of offensive linemen and a former Eagle, Mac McCain, who I'm sure went to Denver and said, "Hey, this is what they do." Nothing.
He started in Denver. He was in Denver this preseason.
He went back and forth. He came just to give a rundown on that. The weather in Denver, because it's Denver and we don't know such things. According to the very official Apple iPhone app, it says it is 45 degrees and mostly cloudy in Denver, with a 40% chance of rain around the beginning of the second half. I don't know what that means any other which way. It's a partly cloudy day, but what it means is they're not going to throw the ball in the second half, but they don't do that anyway. So I don't see a big change there. So what are you looking? Again, we're 3-6 on the season. This is our last primetime game. It's our last flight game where we have to go somewhere on an airplane. What are you looking for this team? What big things do you want to see from the Philadelphia Eagles? Johnny, start us off.
Well, one thing I want to see is the defense adjust. That's one thing that
That's a big thing.
Seen. It is a big thing. I want to see them be able to get pressure on Bridgewater because the thing is, with this offensive line that they have, there should be no excuses why you can't get pressure on when you have Calvin Stevenson blocking the blind side of Bridgewater and you have, like I mentioned before, Cam Fleming and Quinn Miners. You have a beat-up offensive line, and your defensive line should be able to eat. They should be able to get pressure on Bridgewater, cause some, inaccurate throws. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the defense to be able to get some pressure, get some sacks, to be able to, punt the ball. Maybe we can see a game.
Yeah, we didn't force a punt last week. That's big too.
They did have 2 turnovers on downs after they got
true, and that's more on the bad play calling for the Chargers rather than the Eagles stopping them and forcing the situations. But yes, the Eagles did stop them and force turnovers on downs. Those are great. But yeah, there was no punts last week for the Chargers.
But that's what I want to see. I want to see Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett and Ryan Kerrigan maybe get some QB pressures and maybe get a sack or two. And, of course, the interior of the defense. You want to see Milton Williams and Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox be able to get some pressure on the quarterback as well.
There you go. What do you want to see this week?
I want to see a little more Jalen Hurts in this offense. I want to see a little bit less RPOs. I want to see him more standing back in the pocket and trying to throw the football. I want, like we brought up just a few moments ago, I want to see more from Jalen Hurts that he can be a passing quarterback in this league. I think too much. Last week he had 10 carries for 71 yards, and most of those were RPOs that he decided not to throw and just run off. He's not reading defense as well, and I want at this point in time in the season, yeah, we're in the playoff hunt technically, but right now it's an evaluation process for the coaching staff, for us, and for the front office that they need to know what they have with Jalen Hurts and this talent. And this ain't an easy task for this Eagles offense. This is a Denver's defense that is only allowing 17 points a game in the NFL right now. Like I said, they're a very stingy defense that does not give up a lot of big plays. And I want to see a little bit more from him and his wide receivers. Like Peanut brought up here, who came out today, my Birds, Beards, and BS partner here, saying that Jalen Hurts lacks certain things that don't help our young receivers, mainly accuracy.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And we keep on seeing on this all-22 film that our wide receivers are getting open. It's Jalen Hurts not ability to read the defense and find them. On that Devontae Smith pass that he missed him, Dallas Goddard was wide open.
And on the Dallas Goddard throw, he overthrew Dallas Goddard.
Yeah,
so
I want to see more from him.
Right. Even And those two throws stood out. So again, he managed the clock well. He managed his throws well. If you look at some of the, second level stats, he's not making bad choices with the ball anymore. He's making good decisions. That's great. His turnovers, he doesn't turn the ball over. Those are all great things.
He's safe.
But that's my point. He's so safe with everything he does. What's the next thing he's got to do? He's got to become a little bit more of a gunslinger. He's got to become a little bit more accurate of a gunslinger, and he's got to just take over a game. I don't see him doing that yet. And that's what you need from his starting quarterback here in Philadelphia. That's what I think it's going to take for the Philadelphia Eagles fan base to rally around him. Yes, Jalen Hurts, the leader, is wonderful, but Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, definitely needs some work.
Definitely.
Next question I'm going to bring up is the whole running back situation. We have seen that the Eagles have had success with Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, which I will go on record as having, I was terrible when we signed Jordan Howard. I was disgusted. I thought it was a terrible choice. Man, has he bailed us out this year. I'm in a wait list somewhere for a Jordan Howard jersey. When Miles Sanders comes back, what do you do with this running back by committee being too many? Because remember, you still have Kenny Gainwell, who is a passing down back. He's a passing down back, which is great, but you cannot dress 4 running backs and get them all touches.
Well, that's not necessarily true because Boston Scott plays special teams, and there's some ways to be able to do that. But Boston Scott, of course, you'll see his time most likely reduced. Maybe not. Maybe Kenneth Gainwell, unfortunately, may get a little bit time reduced. But when Miles Sanders comes back, if you're able to use Sanders and Howard, I just think with those two guys that, you can use a kind of a thunder and lightning type of, duo to be able to use them to their strengths. And Jordan Howard, he falls forward and he gets yards after contact. And that's huge to be in this type of offense. That's what they're doing. If you're able to get to 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 at the, you're able to convert that. It's better than 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. And that's one thing that this Broncos defense, they are ranked 26th in the league in 3rd down percentage, which is pretty crazy because you look at the rest of those, they're top 10.
Yeah.
Actually,
they're a good defense.
So they're a very good defense, and their secondary is very talented.
Right.
So that was one thing that was a little bit interesting. You look at their defense and their numbers, they're all top 10, and you look at the 3rd down percentage, and the 3rd down percentage is ranked towards the bottom part of the league. Now, so are the Eagles, but again, we already know that. We know what the defense of the Eagles side and what they bring. But I just think that when Sanders comes back, you can use those two guys, as a thunder and lightning type of duo to be able to hone in on the running game, give them guys touches, give them carries. But again, don't forget about passing the ball,
which we already have, even with Miles Sanders out. And to me, I don't know if it's going to take me seeing what they do with Miles Sanders back in. But the fact that Nick Sirianni for so long ignored Miles Sanders, then he went out on IR for a couple weeks, and then what we should do? We should run the ball. So when he comes back, is it going to be, what we should do? Go back to passing the ball 50 times a game. That's my biggest concern is that Sirianni, it's not little adjustments. It's not slight adjustments. It is night and day, black and white, hot and cold. It is extreme ends of every spectrum. Is that what's going to happen when Miles Sanders comes back?
We'll see. First, I want to say thanks to Carl, who came out here to the West End today. He's sitting at the bar,
hey, girl.
Listening to our show. There is still time for you to get down here to the West End if you are in the area in Quakertown off Route 309. We have some great giveaways to do here today. We'll be drawing at 4 o'clock. Eagles kickoff 4:25, so you want to catch the game along with the rest of the NFL games. There's tons of TVs here, so make sure to get on down here to watch some football. But, yeah, in regards to Miles Sanders, look, he still has to be your focal point as your offensive back. He's also a guy that despite the injury, despite the lack of success he's had this season, he can still be a focal point in this offense and still be a playmaker for you in this offense. And I think that's the one issue that we had, and the reason why we didn't have success with Miles Sanders, and now we're having it with Jordan Howard, is because with Jordan Howard and Boston Scott, you're seeing more of Jalen Hurts under center, handing the football off. Where I think Sirianni was trying to get too cute. He felt opposing defenses felt with Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders both being playmakers with their legs that it's gonna it's gonna take away from the defense, or they're gonna get confused, and he's gonna try to confuse them with the RPOs, which it didn't work.
Right.
But with Miles Sanders back, I kind of feel Kenneth Gainwell is going to be the odd man out. Like Johnny brought up, Boston Scott brings that special team factor, and Jordan Howard, you need that big power back in your offense for short yardage or pick up the big first downs.
Right, and Kenny Gainwell is a rookie, so I'm not heartbroken by the fact that he's going to be the odd man out. It's still a major development year for him. But he's going to get his chances.
The only thing I'm also worried about is, or not worried, but they might want to give Gainwell some more reps. They might want to give him more time and try to show his case. Because remember, Miles Sanders, after the season, he's on a contract year. And if they feel that they don't want to pay Miles Sanders the contract that he wants, and they feel Kenneth Gainwell, who's on a rookie deal, is a cheaper option, you might not see Miles Sanders in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform next season.
Okay, so speaking of contract years, it is also a contract year for the tight end one of the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Goddard. Has he done enough in your opinion, to earn himself that big payday contract? I do not feel that he has. I do not feel that Dallas Goddard is the future of the tight end position.
I do.
Why? What has he done that is exceptional?
One,
has he changed a game? Has he taken over a game?
You go by taking over a game.
Absolutely. If he's going to get paid like a tight end one, he needs to take over a game.
And he has no excuse now. Zach Ertz hasn't been on the roster for 2 or 3 weeks now. He has no excuse. Granted, I understand. I think he's gonna get a little bit of a pass just because of the quarterback play from Jalen Hurts. The fact that he's missing Goddard and he's not finding open receivers. But Goddard, even before all this, he didn't have a very great season last year. He really hasn't shown you that he's ready to take that next leap in his game. And it's tough to say because he's in the prime of his career. I think he has a lot of talent. There's something about the offense or his scheme or the quarterback. It's something.
I think the last 3 games, 3 catches, 70 yards.
Okay.
6 catches, 72 yards, and 3 catches, 43 yards. Now, again, they're not passing the ball as much.
They're not.
I think he is a guy, because I know he's on pace right now to have over 800 yards receiving and to have about 50-something catches.
And if he does that, that's great.
But I just think, who else is going to be your tight end one? You're going to go out and sign somebody? I just think that he's a guy that also breaks tackles. He blocks. He does a multitude of things for you. And as tight end one, if you want to, say he's tight end one, he can bring a focal point of the offense. And I feel that he has earned a contract. I'm not saying he should be one of the top 5 paid, and that's the thing.
And that's the thing.
And that's the thing. Indeed.
We don't know the contract. If I'm not saying don't bring Dallas Goddard back, but I'm not ready to pay him Hunter Henry money,
George Kittle money, Travis
Kelce
money.
I'm not ready to pay him that type of cash for a guy that really hasn't taken his game to the next level. Do I think he has the potential? Absolutely. But until he proves that, he doesn't deserve to be getting paid like one of the top tight ends in the game.
And again, I know
it's been a disappointment.
I know he's young. I'm not denying that. But again, he has definitely not done enough to earn that top-tier tight end money. That was a mouthful. Top-tier tight end money.
It's a tongue twister.
Top-tier tight end money. Some of the early games that have been going on, the 1 o'clock slate, I mean, it has been a total it's been interesting. The Titans are beating the Saints in the fourth quarter, 23-12. The Lions and the Steelers are tied at 16 in the fourth quarter. But a reminder, Big Ben did not play. The Colts are beating the Jags 20-9. Washington is beating the Bucks 23-19. That's disturbing. The Patriots are beating the Browns. The Browns do have their backups in their 38-7 drubbing.
Mayfield did get hurt.
All right, well, Case Keenum's in, so I just assume the backups were in. Again, it's 38-7 Patriots. The Cowboys are up 43-3 over the Falcons.
Dude,
who's clapping? Dan, was that you clapping? Oh, you heard a joke. It was funny. Was it that the Eagles are going to play the Cowboys in a couple weeks? Because that's not as funny as you think. Again, and the Cowboys are coming off of a game where they played the team that we're playing
this week
today. They played a team last week in the Broncos that we're playing today and got absolutely slapped by the Broncos. Do not be fooled by the score, which was a bunch of garbage time touchdowns. How do you see, and we're getting to the prediction portions of our show, How do you see, and Johnny, I keep starting with you because you're Mr. Positivity, and then I like to bring everybody back down to the real world. How do you see the Eagles overcoming a Broncos team that slapped a Cowboys team that slapped us?
So if I tell you to shut up, does that kind of bring it back down to your level?
Yes,
It's
indeed.
not really being positive.
Yeah, not at all. Go ahead.
But I don't know, I wasn't even listening to the question. I was just thinking about
How do we beat the Broncos?
It's easy.
It's easy. All right, hold on. We got Coach Sirianni on the line. He's ready to listen to the game plan. Go ahead, Johnny, you with your it's easy game plan to beat the Broncos.
You score more points than the other
I
team.
hate you right now. You again, for those of you analytic people, the real way that you win games is you score more points than the team you're playing against. Anything you want to add to there?
I was going to say flower blooms sometimes.
Oh, my God. Stop with the Gardner stuff. And no, Gardner Minshew. Go ahead.
No, but what they have to do, like I said earlier, is they need to pressure Teddy Bridgewater. But they're going to have to be able to score points. They're not going to be able to win the game, 17-10, nothing like that. They're going to have to score some points. And they were able to do it last week. So you're hoping that the defense, a lot of it relies on the defense being able to, cause some pressure, maybe get a turnover. We need
that would be nice.
And that's one thing that Teddy Bridgewater does very well is he does not turn the ball over very much.
No.
He's very passive and he's very, careful with the ball. So I just want to see more of a single high safety look, bring a guy down in the box, be able to challenge Bridgewater. Because if you let him just dink and dunk his way down the field, it's not going to be good for your defense.
It is
They're just going to go right down the field. So they have to pressure him. They did blitz last week. Hopefully that trend continues and they are blitzing. Just make sure Derek Barnett does not go into coverage because I don't want to see him trying to cover anybody.
Or Fletcher Cox. You should not see Fletcher Cox covering anybody.
No.
You need to see him going 100 miles an hour towards the quarterback. Downhill, downhill, downhill. That's the game plan.
Pressuring Bridgewater is a main key point in this game.
Agreed. How do you beat the Broncos there, Jeff?
I think you have to win the time and possession battle.
Okay.
Look, you need to wear. I'm not against running the football, but I want to see a balanced offensive attack. But you need to move the chains, use a little bit more of that clock, take control of the clock, the time of possession, and wear that Broncos defense down, and keep the Broncos offense off the football field. Because look, the more possessions you give an opposing defense, I'm going to go a little bit of cliche Johnny route. The more times you have your opponent's offense on the field, the more chances they have a chance to score points and win the football game.
That's kind of like the more draft picks Howie Roseman gets, the more he can screw up.
Exactly.
The more draft picks we give Howie Roseman, the more quarterbacks in the factory. Go ahead.
But look, the fact that we somewhat have found our identity. We are sort of the offense that we expected going into this season with Nick Sirianni, that we're going to be a run-first offense with try to exploiting the play action with our deep threat with Devontae Smith, which had a big game last week. 6 or 7 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown.
He had a great week.
So we're starting to build that confidence with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of the three-headed monster with Boston Scott, with Jordan Howard, and with Kenneth Gainwell. We'll sprinkle a little bit in with Jalen Hurts and just run it down their throats and wear that Broncos defense out. Because the more they're worn out, the less they're going to be able to stop you, the more points you're going to be able to get on the board. We cannot get behind early. That's the big key. We can't have 3 and outs. We can't turn the football over. So it's going to be a tough task, though. The Eagles are not going to match well offensively and defensively, in my opinion, against the Broncos.
There you go. Our fun history statistic of the day is brought to you by our other co-host, Mike Bauer. Johnny, would you like to share the fun history statistic about the Eagles-Broncos matchup?
So the Eagles have not won in Denver since 1989, and their average game, they've lost by 28 points. So, that's not very good.
That's nice. So the Eagles have not, now they haven't beat the Broncos, or they haven't won in Denver?
They haven't won in Denver
since 1989.
So, it's been a few games. They don't play every year, but
so they're due.
Yeah. Now the last time they played was 2017, which we know how that game ended. But
right.
Again, they have beat the Broncos, but in Denver, they have not won since 1989.
Now, one thing that I think is interesting, and I've been following on Twitter all day, is just how many Eagles fans have traveled to Denver. And you saw it in the team hotel. You saw it in the airports. You're going to see it. You're going to hear it during the broadcast. And they're going to make about, I'm going to say, over-unders 5 times that they talk about how the Eagles fans have traveled. Over under 5 times the fact that, it's basically like a home game for the Eagles.
It's going to be over.
Over 5?
I don't know, because Greg Gumbel's doing the game. He's pretty professional, so I don't know if he's really going to talk about that.
It's all going to depend on how this game goes. If the Eagles are getting blown out,
They're going to talk about it.
They're not going to bring it up. They're not going to bring that up. But if the Eagles are winning this game surprisingly or winning in decent fashion, they're going to say the crowd is a factor, and that's not boos or whatever you're hearing. You're hearing a lot of cheers because the Eagles are traveling well. And it's also, I'm not going to bring it up, but there's another reason why a lot of fans are traveling out to Denver right now.
What? Whatever. So I don't know if this just came up, and you can check on Twitter. I just got an update on my watch that says Josh Sweat is actually going to be out against the Broncos.
Well, he was questionable with an injury.
He was questionable. He wasn't on the original list, but Josh Sweat, who has a concussion, we're checking to see now. ESPN tends to.
If that's true, that's huge.
That could be very big. What? Anything on the first couple things you see?
I'm not seeing anything.
So again, this is from ESPN. Okay, and Adam's saying the same thing. Yeah, so Josh Sweat is going to be out today, which means a reliance on Derek Barnett. It means a reliance on
Ryan Kerrigan,
Fletcher Cox, Ryan Kerrigan. A reliance on Ryan Kerrigan today that our big multi-million-dollar defensive end Josh Sweat is out today. That is a late pregame.
Teron Jackson, the rookie out of Coastal Carolina, he's going to get some play.
There you
and
go.
Milton Williams as well. He may get some play at end as well.
There you go.
I will say, though, the uniform that they have, the white on the black, I think actually looks pretty good.
It's true. The Eagles are rocking a brand new uniform today. They are wearing the white jerseys with the black pants and the green helmets. It is a first time them wearing that. Shout out to Smash-O Mash, and he has his prediction coming in. Thanks to Kyle for referring you. Appreciate it. So we have a couple minutes left. We're going to start talking about some Uleka locks. We're going to start talking about some predictions. We're going to start talking. And Javier's got probably the biggest prediction of all right here. His bold prediction, you want to put that back up on the screen, is the bold prediction. Ryan Kerrigan will have a tackle today.
Whoa, that's a big prediction there.
Sorry, I had to do the sound effect there.
Doesn't happen all that much.
It does not. Ryan Kerrigan will not have a tackle today. Unless it is tackling a teammate out of their success for tackling a player. So we had our Wednesday show. We made our Uleka locks. Johnny, did you happen to
them?
Yes, let's recap them. So our Uleka lock segment for those of you, and again, make sure you are checking out the West End. We are down at the West End in Quakertown off Route 309. We do this for every single away game. Great food, great drinks, great atmosphere, great staff, great giveaways. So make sure you are checking this out. For every single away game, it is our home when the Eagles are away. So the Uleka Lock segment is where we make a prediction about something that was going to happen in the NFL. Johnny, do you want to recap?
So, yes. So the Uleka Lock section is basically, it could be any game. So this week on it was Thursday show, our guest, Art Dalala, he had Aaron Rodgers has a huge game in Seattle. So we have that. Mike has P.J. Walker 300 yards and 2 touchdowns for Carolina.
Which I don't think is going to happen. So Mike said P.J. Walker over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. But then during the week, the Panthers went out and signed Cam Newton, who is going to be active today. So the first time that P.J. Walker has 3 to 4 incomplete passes, Cam Newton is going in the game. Okay. So that's going to be a tough one.
And then you and I have kind of a
battle royale, if you will.
Yes. So you have Teddy Bridgewater higher than 75% completion percentage.
I do think that Teddy Bridgewater is going to have higher than 75% completion.
And I have him under 70% completion.
Under 70. So if he's anywhere between 71 or 74%,
you're both wrong.
We'll call it a draw. It was a really ugly Wednesday show.
Then, I don't know if Jeff wants to put one in. I know for early games have played already, but if he wants to put one either for the Eagles game or for one of the other games and 4 o'clock or the night games.
I'll put in one for the Eagles, and I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be pretty. I don't think the Eagles are going to match up too well. I'm going to have that Jalen Hurts turns the football over 3 times.
What? Well, hold on. I partially tuned out for a second. Your Uleka lock is that Jalen Hurts turns the ball over 3 times today.
Either interception or fumbling the football.
You're that high on the Broncos defense.
You just see, and sort of leaning towards where I'm going with my prediction, but you have seen how Jalen Hurts has played against solid defenses this year, and it hasn't been pretty until he proves to me that he can play up to NFL caliber against NFL caliber defenses. Then I'll start changing my tune. But This is a defense that is very aggressive, very stingy, and knows how to cause havoc for opposing quarterbacks, as we saw last week against Dak Prescott.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing. Mike Bauer is our fantasy guy. He's also a co-host. He's not here with us today. He's celebrating his anniversary, and
We'll give him a slide.
He made the good decision to not cut his anniversary weekend short to come to a pregame show. So smart man, Mike. Hope you're watching. Congrats to you and the lady. But let's talk fantasy for a couple minutes here, and we're going to focus specifically on this Eagles-Broncos matchup. So I got a phone call today from Uncle Larry.
Boo.
There's
a Giants fan here.
Giants here walking by. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
That's a very fair point.
We said we both suck.
We're both not great. Yeah, basically, if you're not the Dallas Cowboys and you're in the NFC East, you're pretty terrible this season, which we kind of all expected.
Yeah, especially for Washington football team. They had a major loss today. If you didn't catch the early games, Chase Young, their young defensive end, was carted off the field, so that's not a good sign.
That's not a great sign. So fantasy football for the Eagles-Broncos matchup, I got a phone call on the grocery store today from Uncle Larry. He said, look, I have a quarterback, Kyler Murray. He's not playing today.
Why is he calling you? Didn't you give him Mike Bauer's number?
I don't know. I answered the phone. They asked me a fantasy question, so I pretended like I knew stuff.
Okay. That's what you have to do.
So he said, look, I have to pick up a quarterback. Do I pick up Jalen Hurts or do I pick up Teddy Bridgewater? And I didn't even pause. I said, you pick up Teddy Bridgewater.
I told him the wrong thing.
Teddy Bridgewater is my fantasy pick. He's going to have a huge fantasy game today for you. That's my fantasy pick from this matchup. Who's your fantasy pick?
So I will go on the Broncos side because I think a player that, he's probably picked up in many leagues is Javonte Williams. And I know Melvin Gordon is the quote-unquote starter, but Javonte Williams is a heck of a running back. He can do so many things. And the thing is, when he gets hit, he usually bounces off defenders and he gets more yards. So that's something definitely to watch in terms of the game, with the Eagles. But it's also, watching fantasy-wise because he can put up points.
All right. Are you going to pick an Eagle?
No, I'm going to
okay. So then we'll loop back to me and I'll pick an Eagle because we are, believe it or not, the All About the Birds podcast. One of us should probably say an Eagle for our fantasy segment here. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, if you have the Denver Broncos defense, use them. Like I brought up before, Jalen Hurts turns the football over 3 times. And this is also a defense last week that did not allow the Dallas Cowboys' arsenal of weapons over 60 yards receiving. They shut down CeeDee Lamb. They shut down Amari Cooper. Look, they're like I said, they have a good defense, and Patrick Surtain, who was questionable, is playing today. So they have a shutdown cornerback with him to go up against Devontae Smith and the rest of our wide receivers. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
All right. So to make sure that it's an Eagles positive here, yes, I have a couple Eagles on all of my fantasy teams. I have the Devontae Smith in one league, and he's been doing pretty well for me. I have a Dallas Goddard in one league. He's actually on my bench because I don't trust the guy. But one fantasy pickup because right now you're on a lot of bye weeks, one fantasy pickup that you might want to grab is Jordan Howard as that running back 2 spot. He's going to get the carries. He's going to get his opportunities, and he's got probably availability in most of your leagues. So fantasy, if you're looking for an Eagle to pick up in that secondary running back spot, I would say snag Jordan Howard, at least for the day, and see what he does for you.
Yep. It's not a bad pick. Yeah, I understand that. I see that.
Especially in those deeper leagues when you have 12, 14 teams, and a lot of them are two running back starters. You have to find those diamonds in the rough a little bit. And the fact that Jordan Howard's getting as many carries as he is, even with Miles Sanders coming back next week, most likely, I do still expect Jordan Howard to be getting a lot of carries and try to be a focal point complementing Miles Sanders.
And especially with Denver, last 3 games, they're giving up 5.1 yards per carry. So that may, give you a little bit of life for Jordan Howard pickups and stuff like that.
There you go. All right, so we're approaching the last couple minutes. See, Adam, you and I, we get each other. Adam said he does have Jordan Howard on his fantasy team as well. So we're approaching the last couple minutes. Let's go impact player on both sides of the ball. We're not going to include special teams. We know that kicking in Denver is going to be a real pain. I'm just hoping that Jake Elliott can get a couple points here and there if we give him the chance. So Who is your standout player who needs to have a big game on both sides of the ball? You can't say Jalen Hurts, gentlemen. I am pulling Jalen Hurts off the table. We know he's got to have a good game.
Absolutely.
So your standout player, and then after that, we'll go into our final predictions. I'm going to start with Jeff. Your standout offensive player for the Eagles.
Standout offensive player, if I brought before, you have to control the clock and grind and pound. I have to be Jordan Howard. You're going to have to use that power back mentality, have Jalen Hurts under center and continue to hand him off, but wear down that Denver Broncos defense if you want a chance to win today's game, at least from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, I want to see Davion Taylor. He's been excelling the last couple weeks, and he's definitely a guy you're seeing progression from. And look, like you brought up before, of Noah Fant, we need to control the tight end. We know what they have on the outside with Tim Patrick and Judy, and we know what Bridgewater can do. We need to try to control that X factor on the Broncos offense and control Noah Fant.
Cool. Offensive and defensive standouts. Who do you need to see something from?
Did he give the defense?
He did. He did both.
Okay.
Davion Taylor.
All right. So my thing for the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with Dallas Goddard.
Okay.
I just think that if he's able to, attack the middle of the field, it's going to help Jalen Hurts to be able to get that, that focal point in the middle of the field, to be able to give that kind of security blanket for the quarterback. So Dallas Goddard is somebody that I think needs to have a good game. And I think he's starting to trend that way with the last 3 games and, what he's doing and how he's being targeted. So that's on the offside of the ball. Now, the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with TJ Edwards. So I'm going to,
staying with the linebacker,
kind of what Jeff was talking about, but you go up against a team in the Denver Broncos who can run the ball with 2 very capable running backs.
Yeah.
And the Eagles defense, the last 3 games, since those 2 guys, Davion Taylor and TJ Edwards, were implemented in the defense, they've only given up 3.6 yards per carry, which is 3rd in the NFL in the last 3 games. So the defensive side of the ball, running defense has done very well. And I feel like that needs to happen, because what you can do is you put all that emphasis on Teddy Bridgewater, and you're able to get your pass rushers to be able to kind of pin their ears back and to be able to rush, to be able to cause havoc. So that's why I got TJ Edwards as one of my impact guys.
So my impact guy, obviously I would like to say Devontae Smith, but we already know what's expected of him, so we have to go to a different level. I think Quez Watkins has to have a huge game.
Mike's going to like that.
I think Quez Watkins has to have a huge game for the Eagles, simply because we know they're going to be keying on Devontae Smith all day. We know they're a great run defense, which means another wide receiver has to step up. It's not going to be Jalen Reagor, who I am officially labeling as a bust, but I do think that Quez Watkins can have a huge game and should have a huge game against a secondary that's also beat up a little bit as well. On the defensive side of the ball, with Josh Sweat being out, with Ryan Kerrigan being useless on the other side, I think that if Derek Barnett can be an impact player, the Eagles can win this game. I think that Derek Barnett getting to the quarterback a couple times will quiet a lot of people, but he also has to do it.
Exactly. He has to do it. And if he doesn't this week, with both starting offensive tackles being out, there's no going back to him. They would need to move on from him after this season if he can't even get quarterback pressure this week.
Right. So we have a couple minutes left. Again, we are at the West End. We do this every single away game. We are now going to get to our official predictions for the game. We are about 33 minutes away from kickoff, but we are going to get to our official predictions for the game, starting with our one co-host, Mike Bauer, who's not here. What did he have as his prediction?
So Mike had the Eagles winning 21-17. So a little bit of a low-scoring game, but he has faith in the Eagles to be able to squeak this one out in Denver.
I like it. And then we had a guest on this week with another prediction.
Yeah, the Broncos.com lead writer, Eric Dalala, he had the Denver winning 27-17.
There you go. By the way, don't ever put Javier's comment up again, because J-Jaw is not going to be the impact player unless...
Oh, no, I think he was saying as maybe a bust.
Oh, we know he's a bust.
Yeah.
He's as busted as his back is.
I think that's what he's implying to. You said Jalen Reagor's a bust.
Oh, yeah, so is J-Jaw. So now it is time for your official Eagles-Broncos prediction. Or should we wait till... I know how this is going to trend. Go ahead. Jeff, your official Eagles-Broncos prediction with score.
Look, this season hasn't been pretty. They've been competitive, thankfully. But this week, after that spanking the Denver Broncos had last week and the matchups going on the road, the Eagles don't match up offensively or defensively this week, in my opinion. And as I said on Birds, Beards, and BS on our YouTube channel on the AT Sports Network, I don't have much faith this week. I've as my confidence a little bit down, and I think it's going to be a tough task offensively and defensively. I do have the Eagles losing this one. I believe I said 24-17.
24-17 Broncos. Javier on the interweb says 31-28
Eagles. I wish I was that optimistic, but I'm not too hopeful with this team right now.
Yeah, so my prediction tends to lean the same way. Look, the Eagles definitely played better against the Chargers. They absolutely did. So I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to have a little bit of confidence in them. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Broncos beat the ever-loving pants off of the Cowboys, I may have actually picked the Eagles this week. But the Cowboys defense is better than the Eagles defense.
Yeah.
So those numbers should probably go up even higher. I do have the Broncos winning today. I have them winning 34-21.
That, and also the Eagles haven't beat, I think, a winning team with a winning record in like a year and a half right now.
Yeah, it's
bad.
It's
not trending well.
It's not trending well. I do think that the Eagles' offense is getting better. It just so happens that the Broncos' defense is much, much better than the Chargers that we played last week.
The Broncos are a good football team.
They're good.
The one thing that is holding them back is Teddy Bridgewater right now. Nothing against Teddy Bridgewater, but he's pretty much a game manager. Without the quarterback position, this team, in my opinion, would be a contender in the AFC. But the one somewhat X factor in this game that could go in the Eagles' favor that we forgot to bring up is that they are without their offensive coordinator this week, who is out with COVID.
That's true. That could actually help the Broncos. Knowing who their offensive coordinator is. Who do you have as your prediction? I saved you for last. I'm really hoping that I did the right thing here, Johnny.
So you look at the Eagles have not won in Denver since 1989.
Okay.
They lose by 28 points per game when they play in Denver. That was documented. We mentioned that. Also, what Jeff just mentioned about beating winning teams, winning records a year and a half. So that also is another thing that is in play. My thought of it is, with the way the Eagles played, and the quarterback you're playing is not Justin Herbert.
No.
So, and the way the run defense has been playing, I think that the Eagles defense can be able to get some stops. And I think the offense is still they're going to build off of what they've been doing the last couple of weeks. And streaks are always meant to be broken.
True.
So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say the Eagles do squeak out a win. Jake Elliott with a game-winning field goal.
In Denver.
Denver.
A mile-high squeak out.
You need to make a shirt. You're so good with graphics. You need to start making a shirt with power positivity or something along those lines. Because every single week, I think you have the Eagles undefeated this season.
He does.
Except maybe against the Dallas Cowboys might be the only game you might have them lose.
I think he picked them against the Bucs, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick them the same thing I did with the Lions, 21-20.
21-20. Johnny says the Eagles will get their victory today. So again, we are the All About the Birds for the AAT Sports Network. We want to thank everybody who tuned in on the interwebs. We want to thank everybody here at the West End for coming out and listening, eating, enjoying the great beverages. We're going to be doing our giveaways in just a couple of minutes, so make sure you get your raffle tickets into the bucket. We will be on live for a post-game show back on the interwebs, provided the Eagles make a game of it. If it is ugly, I'm going to tell you right now, we're not doing it. Because I can't bring myself to talk about this team if it is indeed ugly. But with that being said, we should be online around 8 o'clock for a post-game Eagles show. I am Chip. This is Jeff. This is Johnny. We are the All About the Birds pregame show. And as we end everything here on the All About the Birds network, go Birds!